Would you guys be okay if I start out with a question about compassion? And I want to go deeper into it because I think it might be interesting where you, who are the incurable optimist, is choosing a word compassion which only arises if there is no hope. Right?
I didn't think of it that way.
We see a bride and a groom getting married and they're super happy. Do we give them compassion?
No.
We see a bride and a groom going through a terrible divorce. Do we give them compassion? Maybe.
Maybe.
So compassion, from my understanding, and I can be wrong, but I think that compassion comes from a place of seeing someone suffering. And if we're seeing someone suffering, we are only seeing the dark in the situation.
Got it. The light bulb lit.
So the third eye is programmed to see dark and will find situations where we feel compassion for someone, but isn't that a judgment? Isn't that a judgment that we are standing in our place and that poor person? I will give you some examples. There is which example do I start with? There is an old story of a farmer with a horse. And the horse and the villagers say how lucky this man is. And the man says, he smiles. Tama-Do man, right? The horse breaks out and runs away. And the villagers say, this man has no luck. This poor man. And they give compassion to the man who has lost his horse. And the man, Tama-Do man, is thinking, what's the gift? The horse comes back with 2 other horses. He's befriended 2 horses, now there's 3 horses. The villagers are all ecstatic. What a lucky man. The man smiles. He's grateful, but the man smiles. The son of the man decides to tame one of the horses, gets on the horse's back. The horse throws him and breaks the son's back. And all the villagers come and say, oh, this poor man, he's always so bad luck. I feel such compassion for this man. And the Tama-Do man goes, what's the gift? There is a war going on, and the army comes to the village to collect all the young men that have to go to war. And they pass by the farmer's boy because he's broken his back. And it continues. So isn't suffering to a degree a perception of I have something and the other does not? Does it have a judgment that that person is poor and suffering, therefore I need to be charitable? What if, now there are instances where the person is suffering and asking for help, but let me get to that one. Let me deal with the ones who we perceive as suffering. Fabienne had a friend who was blind. And Fabienne felt compassion for the guy because he was blind. And the guy said, don't do that to me. Don't put your stuff on me because I don't feel bad because I know nothing else. And I can see the pink of a rose through the smell of the rose. When I smell the rose, I see pink. When I hear a voice of love, I see pink. I know it's pink. That is to me what is pink. Fabian learned a lesson that he was judging that the person was suffering. So as practitioners of the light, we have to be careful about putting our judgment on someone else that they need to be saved, that they need to be healed, that they need compassion. Now, there are plenty of clients who will kick and scream and demand compassion. Let's just look at children to the parent. We have all seen children kick and scream, wanting love, wanting to be felt sorry for, the moo-moo, do-do-boo-you-do-do. Okay, there are times to do-boo-do-you-you. What if you are on a hiking trail, it's longer than you thought, the child is crying, she's very tired, and you're looking at your watch and you're not sure you're going to get to the car before dark and you forgot your flashlight. So then there is an urgency, and what does the parent do? Does the parent stop and hold the trauma, does she cater to the child asking for compassion, which is this, or does the mother try to lift up the energy and get the child to the car because it will be worse if they're all in the dark? The Buddhist compassion is a little bit like empathy, where you feel the pain. It's not that you observe and judge. There are times where you feel, you resonate with the pain of the person. What if the person who is in pain is in their swamp? Fair enough. And they are a noble hero. And the swamp that they are in is actually their initiation. Now, if we believe in the light and we believe that everyone has initiations, is it correct for us as practitioners to take their initiation away from them? To solve it, to fix it, to prevent the initiation from happening? On the human level, of course, you want to stop anything that hurts anybody. On a higher level, what are you doing? What are we doing? Are we trying to save, protect the noble hero because we don't believe in the light? Are we believing in the dark? Does the dark come first? And therefore, we want to prevent the dark by rearranging the story instead of, what if we give the noble hero courage and belief that absolutely they can do it? What if we cheer them on in the middle of their dojo? In the middle of the drama trauma, we give them tools so they can prevail. Doesn't the human being, above all else, want to be free? To live their life with dignity, with love, with success, autonomy, freedom. So if we step in and mother and control and protect and defend, we're disempowering the child, no? It's tough. But I come from a family of Taoyangs, and the Taoyangs are the leaders of community. Let's look at a war. Let's look at a leader in the old days or now needing to get her community to the top of the hill where it's safe. Is she going to be sidetracked because somebody needs compassion in the middle of the action? Is she going to have all of the community go down because one person has succumbed to fear and doubt and despair? Or do you try to rally that person and push them with the rest of the group up to the top of the hill? I deal with this all the time as the leader of Tama-Do. Do I hold this person? Do I allow them to express the despair, the anger, the everything? Yes and no. Yes, go outside, kick and scream if you like, if you need to, as a creative expression. But me holding them, nurturing them, aren't we then going down together into the trauma drama? Instead of, cool, what you gonna do about it? Did you know how strong you are that you chose this amazing disaster? I remember when I went through my dark night of the soul, and I was down, and I had a teacher who looked at me and said, "Aren't feelings marvelous? Isn't it great to have this going on? Because what's the alternative? You're dead. Would you prefer to be dead and not feel than to be alive and feel all of the tapestry? And yes, to be okay with it, but not to give compassion, which seems a bit inert. Why not give them action, which are tools to help them get out of the situation that they, whether you choose to believe in the Noble Hero's Journey or not, they are in. They're in it. You can say, well, they chose, so here's the tools to help you to prevail. Or we can say, wow, that was an accident, but you're in it. What are we going to do about it? My mother, she was an activist. Social injustice, anything that was wrong, she was there to make right. And her motto was, what are you going to do about it? Get mad, but what are you going to do about it? Let's not feel sorry. What are you going to do about it? In my children's book, The Story of the Five Elements, I adjust it slightly. I go back to Chinese medicine. Grandfather Tree is talking to the little boy who's pissed off with the life. And the grandfather says, don't get mad. That's wood out of balance, right? Get creative. Play music. So I feel that drowning in the swamp and being loving, I'm going to go down. I don't know how to do that. Do I have feeling? Do I care? Of course. Fabienne and I both do. Fabienne was born during a war, World War II. There were bombs going all around. They didn't know day or night if they were going to survive. They were also Jewish, so they didn't know, doubly didn't know. He grew up determined to create tools to help people to heal themselves and to harmonize the world. This is love. This is, I think, the action of love that replaces the inaction of compassion. And I think that's where Tama-Do stands. We want to give tools to help anybody that is in a crisis, to see the opportunity of it and to find ways, sound, color, movement, meditation, prayer, to get out of it. And it starts with the belief system. And even the Dalai Lama is now saying, you know, Buddhism is not quite right, this compassion thing. And if you recall, he used to say compassionate detachment. That you love, but my heart is too small. I don't want to suffer, so I'm going to be detached with my compassion. And now he is saying, I think there's something to the Christic, the Christian point of view of action. And I'm going to use the word Christic instead of Christianity, which is a religion, because the Christic light is based on truth. You've got Saint-Germain with his big sword that cuts through anything that is not truth. That to me is love. If I can help someone who's in despair to rise up their fire, I'm not allowing the dark to come into the picture. If each of us sees one little flicker, then that's what we focus on. And we build the flame. We build the fire. And that's not compassion. That is God. That is the big creator who keeps creating herself, right? She keeps cleaning and carving space in all the garbage and getting rid of the garbage, and she is a font of creativity. That's godliness, is the creative act of positivity. So if we're giving godliness, reminding the person that's suffering, you are so noble, you are stronger than you believe, you can do it. And you use your fire to rise them up. That's what I believe. So if it's a different word, sight of light, yeah, I'm for it. Compassion, oh, I'm in the swamp. There is a wonderful movie. I don't know if you've seen it. It's called The Book of Joy, with the Dalai Lama and Desmond Tutu. Have you heard of this? It's free. You guys should all find it. The Book of Joy. Desmond Tutu was an archbishop, so coming from the Episcopal, I don't think he was Catholic, but he's a Christian guy, and the Dalai Lama is a Buddhist guy. And they are not talking about compassion, but they are talking about the action of joy, putting joy into everything. And if you know of Desmond Tutu, he was one of the big organizers and advocates of anti-apartheid in South Africa. And so he was an activist. He's not with us on this side anymore, but he was in the trenches. The Dalai Lama, as you know, lost his homeland, lost everything, and is trying to speak from a place of light instead of from the place of suffering. And I'll give you an example. In the movie, I used to work for the Dalai Lama, and even now today, there are Tibetans that cross the Himalaya during, with the snow and the snowstorms, to come to freedom in India, to come to Dharamsala, where His Holiness is. And a lot of them die, and a lot of them are being killed in what used to be Tibet, and they now consider it China. They're being killed off. And there was a girl in the movie who had just arrived. She lost all of her family. Everybody was died. And she's telling Desmond Tutu and the Dalai Lama her story, tears just streaming down her face, inconsolable. Desmond Tutu is a mess. He's crying also, filled with compassion. And his daughter is commenting on the scene saying, oh yeah, Daddy, he was just full of compassion. And His Holiness starts to pray. He's very quiet and he's praying. And he looks at the girl and says, isn't it wonderful? You have your whole life in front of you. You didn't die, and you are here to spread the word. Isn't it wonderful, your life? He gave her courage, compassion, courage. I'll take courage.